I'm sending you audio, Hugh. Do you hear it? Do you hear the audio, Hugh? It looks like it's going out to me. That's not what's showing. That's what's showing. Get back to me, Hugh. Do you want me to keep talking, Hugh, or are you going to let me know when to talk? Hugh, do you want me to keep talking, or do you want to let me know when it's time to talk? Okay, so I've got. Can you turn up the volume on that? Are you getting audio? Okay, so it's going out over YouTube, and so it's got to be going out over Zoom. So I don't know why you don't have it there, but I will hang up and check YouTube as well.
I don't see a microphone on the participants for you. Oh, there you are.
Okay, that was when I was trying to get control. You got audio there?
Yeah, I got audio.
Thank you, bye.
Okay, bye.
would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. There is a hurting in my family, and there is sorrow in my town. There is a panic all across the nation, and there is wailing the whole world round. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. May the children see more clearly, and may the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though they burn our eyes. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Give me a mighty yoke to hold my confusion, and give me a desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder, and give me an ocean to hold my tears. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of
When you're down and troubled, and you need some love and care, and nothing, oh, nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to
the sky high above you should grow dark and full of cloud, and that old north wind should begin to blow, keep your head together and call my name out loud. Now baby, yeah, 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 soon I'll be knocking upon your door. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again, y'all. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, hey now all you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, ain't it good to know that you got a friend when people can be so cold? They'll hurt you, yes, and desert you, and take your soul if you let them. Oh, but don't you let them. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running, running, yeah, 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 to see you again. Ooh, ooh, now.
Winter, spring, summer, or fall, hey now all you've got to do is call, and I'll be there,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got a friend.
You've got yourself a friend now.
Hey now, baby, you got a friend.
Now ain't it fine to know that you've got a friend?
Oh, now, baby, you got a friend. Yeah, yeah, ain't it good to know? Ain't it good to know? Ain't it good to know? You've got a friend.
Beloved, we have come together this morning drawn by the death of Carole Jean Tillis and our wish to express our love and respect for her. We've come together to express our gratitude for her life. We are here together, perhaps in a bittersweet frame of mind, with sadness at saying goodbye, but with deep gratitude, happiness, and sometimes even laughter in remembering Carole and all that she was to us. Let this be a time for remembering the person that Carole was and for affirming and celebrating the life that she lived. Carole passed away peacefully on October 28th. It was a glorious autumn day at Sandy Pond. She was accompanied by her family and friends. Carole was 81 years old. Today we hold in our hearts especially those who were closest to Carole and those who will miss her perhaps the most dearly. We think, of course, of her loving wife and partner of almost 30 years, Carolyn McCreary. We hold in our thoughts daughters Kim Tillis, Leslie Alber, Amanda Nichols, and son Keith McCreary with his wife Minori. We think of Carole's adored grandchildren, Morgan Villegas Alber, Parker Alber, Zachary Alber, and Fuji McCreary, as well as her great-granddaughter, Aurelia Faraci. We remember her other surviving relatives and her in-laws today, as well as her many, many, many dear friends. And of course, we can't forget Grace, Carole's beloved Labradoodle. What Carole was and what she was to us, what she taught us, what she meant to us, the ways in which she touched our lives, that is ours to keep forever. And Carole lived a full life. Her life began in Tampa, Florida, March 24th, 1942. And that's where she grew up, too, graduating from Hillsborough High School in Tampa. I don't know that many details of Carole's young life. I'm hoping that others can fill some of those details in today. But she did tell me, in her own words, that she was an old-school feminist and an out and proud lesbian, going back to a time when not so many were out so boldly. Eventually, Carole became a registered nurse, then a certified registered nurse anesthetist. She moved to Massachusetts and was a well-respected nurse anesthetist at Mass General Hospital. Easy for me to say. She was a well-respected nurse anesthetist at Mass General Hospital starting in the 1980s. Carole took a break from her work at MGH, moving back down south, this time to Augusta, Georgia, to earn a master's degree in clinical psychology. And after that, she went to Auburn University in Alabama to pursue a doctoral degree in clinical psychology. That's not the way it worked out, since Carole did not complete her PhD, but something even better happened, because in 1995, she met Carolyn McCreary, who of course was to become her wife. A few years later, in 1998, Carole and Carolyn made their way north to Massachusetts, and Carole resumed her work at MGH. She retired from MGH in 2007, having had a very successful career. It was in 2002 that Carole and Carolyn moved into their beloved home at Flamingo Beach on Sandy Pond in Air. And shortly after that, Massachusetts became the first state to legalize same-sex marriage, and Carole and Carolyn became pioneers, tying the knot officially right there at Sandy Pond. This was the place of Carole's heart, to be sure. And I'm so glad that she was able to pass away there, transitioning into the mystery that follows this life. Carole loved to sing. She loved to play guitar. Together with Carolyn, she founded the Artemis Singers here at First Church Unitarian. It was a labor of love. That was more than 15 years ago, and Artemis is more than a singing group. Artemis is a sisterhood. It's been an important ministry of this congregation, not only as a music ministry, but also as a ministry really of pastoral care. Carole did put her education in psychology to good use here at FCU. She was always a lay pastoral minister to parishioners here, whether officially or unofficially. As you will hear today, I know Carole was very easy to talk with. She was easy to connect with. You felt that she embraced you just the way you were. She was amazingly empathetic, a natural empath, really. Sometimes she had to take brief breaks from giving pastoral care because she felt so deeply the stories that she was hearing. She was a wonderful member of this congregation in all ways, lending a helping hand to so many different efforts over the years. She was always one to make a special dish just for you, to meet your needs. She was always one to make a special trip, to go out of her way to make sure that you got the help you needed, even if that was a hug and a shoulder to cry on. She was a natural hostess, perhaps not surprisingly, because she was always one to welcome others. I will always remember the quiet intensity that Carole had when she co-led the annual Yule service here at FCU. She added a real gravitas to that otherwise casual gathering. Sometimes during Yule services and other earth-centered rituals, there's an air of magic, and I will always remember Carole as magical. Sometimes to me it felt as though she were a sprite with supernatural abilities of a true empath. There was a twinkle in her eye that made you feel that she knew more about you than you had ever told her. Indeed, she was an irreplaceable force among us. It makes me think of lyrics from a song very dear to her, Donovan's Catch the Wind. When rain has hung the leaves with tears, I want you near to kill my fears, to help me to leave all my blues behind. For standing in your heart is where I want to be, and I long to be. Ah, but I may as well try and catch the wind. And so we turn our hearts toward one another this day, seeking to honor and celebrate the life of one dearly loved and so recently lost. Today we rejoice together that one such as Carole was among us. Today we acknowledge that death is a part of the mystery and gift of life. Together we are grateful for the gift of life, grateful to be a part of the interdependent web of all existence, and grateful for the short and precious time that Carole was lent to us. Together, let us recall the precious times that we had with her. Let us now sing a hymn that's important to this congregation and was important to Carole as well. The lyrics will be on the screen, but the lyrics can also be found in the gray hymnal at 123. It's Spirit of Life, and I invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
Sing in my
Please be seated. I'd like to invite Carole's dear friend Kathy Wall to share a remembrance now.
Good morning, friends and relatives of Carole. When you reach my age, you start to lose people. Friends, family that you're born into, family that you choose. And every one of those losses just rips a chunk right out of your soul. And your soul is like Swiss cheese, full of little holes everywhere. Some of those holes are smaller, some of those holes are larger. The hole left behind by Carole is my largest of all because I have known her for nearly 60 years. And she was the single, stable, constant friendship of my entire adult life. And there's just nothing that you can replace that with. So we have all cried, we have all grieved, we have all mourned, but now I'm ready to celebrate a life well lived. There's no way that I can tell you how much 60 years of friendship with Carole has meant to me. I can only give you little snippets, some from the early days, so maybe you can get a better understanding of where she has come from. Carole and I were introduced by a mutual friend, Edith, and Edith is the only person who has been friends with Carole longer than I have. Carole and I got to know each other, and we fell in love, and we were together in the 1960s and into the 1970s. We ultimately went our separate ways, but after some time had passed, we agreed that the things that bound us together were much stronger than anything that could pull us apart, and we became best friends forever. If you were friends with Carole, you knew she was always there for you. And over the years, no matter how far apart we were geographically, we were always there for each other. And that's a very special kind of friendship. I had the privilege of being there in the very early days when many of the interests and passions that Carole developed were started. I'll give you a couple of examples. In the early 70s, she worked to get the Equal Rights Amendment passed and ratified in South Carolina. Well, she would go out full of enthusiasm to talk to women, to try to convince them to vote for ratifying the amendment. She would come back home all discouraged and frustrated because a lot of the responses she got were like this: "Oh, no, that's none of my business. That's for the men to decide." South Carolina has still not ratified the Equal Rights Amendment. She campaigned for a political candidate in 1972. And then we worked at the polls and we stayed up all night hand tallying paper ballots. And Richard Nixon won his second term by a landslide. That was her candidate and mine at the time. Well, we know how that turned out. That is where it all started, but that's not where it ended. She continued to be active in political, community, and church affairs for her whole life. I admired her commitment and passion for the causes that she embraced. She was always generous and giving of her time and talents. There are so many contributions that you folks probably are much more aware of than I am. So pause a moment and think of some of those things and think about what she has meant to this community. We have to talk about music. It was an integral part of the fabric of her being. Sometimes out of the blue, she would ask me, "What are you singing?" And I would have to say, "Well, I'm not singing anything right now." Or it would be something ridiculous like the Oscar Mayer Wiener song going through my head. If I asked her that question, she always had a song. She was always had something playing in her head. Music was always with her. I taught Carole to play the guitar. And we spent many wonderful hours playing, singing, harmonizing. We would sing all the old folk songs, and when we ran out of folk songs, we would sing all the old hymns. Over the years, whenever we got together, we would get those guitars out and sing and harmonize, and it was just pure joy. She sang here in the choir, the Artemis Singers, with a trio with Patty and Laura. And if I'm quiet, I can hear her singing now. And her song is like brightly colored threads, stitching through that Swiss cheese hole and pulling the edges just a little bit closer together. It will never be closed up. There will always be openings and gaps where pain and sorrow can come sneaking out and bite you when you least expect it. But I have 60 years of memories, more brightly colored threads that I can weave into there, and eventually I will feel better. One last thing. A few of you know that Carole and I called each other my dear companion. There's a little story behind that. In 1987, we took a trip out west to visit some of the national parks. At that time, the trio album with Dolly Parton and Emmylou Harris and Linda Ronstadt had just come out. Oh, we loved that. So we got our hands on a cassette tape of that album, and my car had a cassette player, and we played that poor little cassette tape over and over and over, all the way to Yellowstone and back, 3,000 miles, singing all the way. And we could sing all the words, and we traded off on the harmonies. And it was like, okay, I'll do Linda this time, and you do Dolly. And we would sing our little hearts out. So, excuse me if I change the words to the song just a little bit. Oh, have you seen my dear companion is one of the songs on that tape. Oh, have you seen my dear companion, for she was all this world to me. But now she's gone to some far country, and she's no longer here with me. Oh, have you seen my dear companion, for she was all this world to me. Fare thee well, my dear companion.
Thank you, Kathy. At this time, I'd like to invite Carole's dear friend, Jess Gugino, to share a remembrance.
Hello. Start this with LOL. Perhaps it is fitting to recall this anecdote about Carole on this day when we celebrate her 81 plus years of life, on this day when we offer condolences on her passing from this life onto whatever is next. Carole herself might once have said that we should mark this occasion of grief and remembrance with LOL. She used that acronym once in, of all things, a condolence note. I think by way of text even that she couldn't recall, to a friend. LOL. Carole, however, thought LOL stood for lots of love. So it was with more than a tad embarrassment that she learned after the fact that LOL actually means laugh out loud. But I think when we think about Carole, the person she was, we can think about both those things together, about a glorious and caring and expansive woman who delighted in both love and laughter. I didn't want to write these remarks, much less deliver them, because saying them admits to a kind of finality, underscoring that Carole really is gone, but I hope gone only in certain ways. Gone from this finite world, but missed infinitely, by many, myself included. Certainly, Carole had many roles in this life that could be appropriately labeled and cataloged: daughter, mother, partner, wife, nurse anesthetist, singer, guitar strummer, volunteer for her town, for Meals on Wheels, for shopping and cooking, for community suppers, an activist, a proud lesbian and advocate for gay rights, and more broadly, just for basic and decent human rights. In terms of activist Carole, I remember one story she liked to tell, and I love to hear, where she got to meet Mitt Romney back when he was running for governor. I think, if I recall correctly, it was at a campaign event right here in Littleton back in 2002. She was so very proud that she got to shake his hand, and shake it she did. And then she didn't let go. She didn't let go, even though he was trying on his end, until she had her say to bridge that gap between her politics and those of Romney. And she told him that, like him, she was in a committed relationship, not yet legally married, but that was coming. Like him, she was a parent with children. Like him, she was a grandparent with grandchildren. In short, gay or straight, like him, she was just as human and in ways just as ordinary. And then I guess she finally did let go, because somehow he did go on to become governor, run for president, yada, 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 yada. I only got to know Carole during her air years, first as neighbor, then as a dear friend, and also a late night texter. One of those people who at 1 or 2 in the morning, knowing that I too was a night owl, might ding my cell phone with an, "Are you still up?" Of course, if I wasn't at first, then I was. And that text would often be to just say good night, or maybe suggest I just bring my cup of coffee over the next day, trotting across my neighbor's yard, "Thanks, Pat," and through the fence just for a chat. But that was only if her very busy schedule permitted, as she took pains to remind me in one text, we, meaning her and Carolyn, of course, "We'll have to fit you in tomorrow, as our schedule is exhausting. Get up, eat breakfast, skydiving in the morning, then on to Jordan's Furniture for a trapeze lesson. But you are important, so we will fit you in." She had a vivid imagination, our Carole. Carole did fit people in. She was a giver of care in all senses of the word. Our transition from neighbor to friend truly began when I'd broken my leg a number of years ago, and she drove me to some of my doctor appointments. I know that she did that for many friends here after she retired. As for me, little did I know that I was getting into a car with Carole Tillis, that getting into a car with Carole Tillis was essentially getting into a car with the Grand Inquisitor. She loved to get to know people, to find out who they really were, find out what made them tick, and often, if there was a need, what she could do to help. And so the questions began. Who was I? Where did I come from? What did I think? Fortunately, that wound up blossoming into a mutual sharing that I will always deeply treasure. She was a listener. I think Reverend Laura said that as well. She was a listener above all, always ready to lend an ear. And I think when she started to lose her hearing in the last few years, it was probably just from overuse. That she was someone who added to my life in so many ways represents for me the highest compliment I can give someone. So there are many things I can remember that she added. Breakfasts with Carole at Bickford's or Tiny's, where in Carole's style, she always would ask the waitress, "What's your name?" And then she would take care to remember that name. So the next time we came in, she would say, "Hi, Dolores," or whoever it was. And it was also a game that we would play. I was very neat on my side of the table. I would take my multitude of half and half containers. I would stack them very carefully. I would stuff them with my multitude of sugar packets. And then Carole would have hers spread all across the table. And then slowly she would start to nudge them toward me so that I could stack those as well. There were also game nights at Carole's and Carolyn's that was a real thing. Sometimes, depending on the game, I have to say, there was even real blood and torn tablecloths. She liked to compete. She didn't care so much about winning, though she pretended often to be quite fierce and very, very serious. Sharing laughter and good times, that was the real prize for her. There was also bingo with Carole at a local Catholic church on a Friday night, something I had not expected to experience in this lifetime. Because of Carole, I did get to experience that along with Kitty if she's here. From Carole, I learned what a dauber is, and I will say, I will complain, if you will, that I'm pretty sure I missed out on a big jackpot or two during those moments when Carole, when her hearing was getting a tad spotty, would lean over and say, "What did they say? What was that number?" And in answering, we'd both miss out on at least the next few numbers. I would also say she could be competitive on cooking, and my neighbor John had a deviled egg contest, and Carole was very proud of her cooking prowess, and she entered that contest with assurance, but Carole did not win. I did not win. The host, John, won that night, and while that might seem suspicious, it was in fact fair and square. Carole, though, good loser that she was, and with her understated humor, came up to him afterwards, graciously and humbly, and said, "You, sir, are a son of a bitch." She had a dramatic flair, our Carole. There's more, of course. She was a wise woman, and she was an imp, and she was a proud, nasty woman when she needed to be. Looking down there, it will be hard not to have noticed that this urn nearby contains her ashes, what is left of Carole's bodily nature. But Carole was and is, whether in life or in memory, uncontainable. This urn holds only a small remnant of what was a large and generous personality, a wonderful human being, a friend I will deeply miss and will always consider it a privilege to have known. Irving Berlin wrote in one of his songs, "The song is ended, but the melody lingers on," as does the melody and memory of Carole Tillis, who I hope is now embarked on a fantastic new journey. So, her journey, laugh out loud, LOL, laughing out loud and full of lots of love. Thank you.
Thank you, choir. Thank you, Jess. I'd like to invite Carole's dear friend, Caroline Marvin, to share her remembrance.
Wow. So many wonderful, amazing, friends gathered. I hadn't seen you, from this angle with your faces and your personalities. Oops, my words, there it is. As I was pulling off of the expressway, as Saber and I were pulling off the expressway a little bit earlier, the words came into my mind. I thought, these words should be in this little speech. And the words were, one thing I know for certain, Carole has already forgiven me for being late to her celebration of life. It's hard when someone leaves my life before I've told them what they mean to me. My mouth is a little dry. It's hard when someone leaves my life before I've told them what they mean to me. I am so grateful that this didn't happen to me with Carole. I owe my good fortune to Carolyn. You had the wisdom to ask us to create a video tribute for Carole's 80th birthday. I fretted a bit about the assignment. Everything I had to say felt too personal to send off into cyberspace, only to land in a compilation that would be heard by countless others. I felt shy. But the deadline arrived, so I took what some friends call the high dive and told the truth. I am heartened by knowing that Carole heard the words I'm about to share with you. Here they are, together with just a few more added especially for our gathering today. Friendship can be difficult. It's often forged in the hardest of times, but Carole was a brilliant friend, so intuitive, so natural, so willing and brave. Perhaps you'll recognize the elements of your own friendship with Carole in the words I have written. Dear Carole, what a wonderful opportunity I have today to say some words to honor you on your 80th birthday. How can I even begin to say how much I love you? From the earliest moments of our friendship, I knew I was safe with you. So much laughter, so much honesty, so much acceptance, so much shattering of my often shattered soul and never wavering all these years. I'm not sure, but I think the earliest years were the hardest, but they were worth it. They gave us a foundation we could trust. That refers to some of the dynamics inside Artemis. About Flamingo Beach, Carole, you and your beloved partner have created the perfect safe harbor for me and for so many others in your home and in your relationship with each other. Sometimes it takes 3, not 2, to make the safety and the necessary healing of old. Sometimes it takes 3, not 2, to make the safety that is necessary for healing of old hard places to happen. We women of Artemis, our women's chorus here at FCU, share some common understandings about relationships. Our ancient Greek sisters called a place with the energies of the home you two have created temenos, or sanctuary. In those days, it would be a temple or a sacred grove. In these times, your home is such a place. And inside and outside that space, together, you each bring something so special. For me, you, Carole, bring a loving, enfolding, so natural, so safe, and healing presence. Here is what I think that goddess, Artemis herself, would say if we asked her. I am saying it too. At 80, you are the good mother, fully expressed. The Greeks called this good mother goddess Hera. And so, as the words of our Artemis song conveys, here is my wish and blessing for you. May Artemis protect you on your journey, and Hera provide for you, just as you have nourished, sustained, and protected me and us. And also, beginning long before I knew you, as you have nourished and protected daughters, grandchildren, their families, and surely others in your circle long before I knew you. And in present time, you have nourished and sustained members of our FCU community, whether you were their lay minister or not. As I say the word nourished, I see in my mind's eye your recipe box, overflowing with recipes for every kind of amazing comfort food. That is a part of the mother part of you, and she and her recipes have been around for me a lot lately. There is one other essential part of who you are for me, woman of integrity. That is the part of you who can experience a difficult impasse with a friend, wrestle with it in her soul until she figures it out, and then tell the whole truth with nothing held back. This is, after all, the great covenant of community at FCU. This is how I wrote it. It's not exactly correct. To love, to tell the truth in love, and to help and care for each other, each precious one. I wonder if you know, Carole, all the times I am remembering when you have done just this for me. It's a conversation I would love to have. Happy birthday, Carole. I do love you. So those are my words. I thought maybe you guys could say with me the covenant like it's supposed to be. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to live together in peace, to tell the truth in love, and to help each other. Thanks. Uh-oh, that's Monica's pen. I'll get it for you afterwards.
Thank you, Caroline. Always worth the wait. Our next hymn is Dona Nobis Pacem, and the lyrics will be on the screen again, and they are also found in the gray hymnal at number 388. I invite you to rise in body or spirit. Thank you, Molly. At this time, I'd like to invite Carole's daughter, Amanda Nichols, to share her remembrance.
Well, I used to like Swiss cheese. Thank you. Not anymore. I am so grateful and so lucky. I mean, just look around. Like, look at this crowd. You guys have truly embraced the spirit of today. The purple, the flamingos, Mike. There's an awful lot of people here for a self-proclaimed introvert. How many of you knew she was an introvert? Okay. How many of you think that's a load of crap? You know, I am very lucky to be standing here, and we are all very lucky to be standing here, and we're lucky because of the impact that she had on us. When she was in the hospital, she received a card in the mail. She actually received quite a few cards in the mail, but there was one in particular that stuck out. The author mentioned that she had only known Carole for a very brief moment of time, but it was a very significant time in her life, and Carole was there with an ear, with a hug, and with those wise words of wisdom that we all know so well and have been mentioned by so many people up here. While fleeting, the impact that Carole had on her will stick with her forever. Carole had that effect on people. People were drawn to her. She had this way of just making time stop when you needed her. I see some heads nodding. I know a few of you know what I'm talking about. She would sit down with you. She would look at you, and then she would listen. She would really, really listen. And in that moment, you were the center of the universe, and time would stop. How many of you have experienced this with Carole? We are the lucky ones. LOL. I have known Carole since I was 16. She has shaped my life in ways that I can't even begin to understand. It took a minute, though. Becoming a step-parent to a 16-year-old is really hard, especially when that 16-year-old is me. Over the kitchen table is one of those places where Carole and I bonded the most. We both loved cooking and eating and wine. And although my beverage of choice changed quite a bit over the years, Carole never did. She always had these giant bottles of cheap Chardonnay. The brand that sticks out the most in my mind is Marcus James, but sometimes it was something else. You know, lately it was a box. Always very, very cheap. Once I discovered nice wine, I just kind of assumed Carole didn't know any better. I had the audacity to suggest that she ditch that swill for something better. I even bought her a good bottle. I think I spent $13 on it. But boy, the look that I got. Whew, I didn't try that again. I spent a lot of time in the kitchen with the moms. Carole with her shitty Chardonnay. Usually I had a decent glass of red. My mom would have one too. And a lot of our bonding was done in the kitchen over food, both cooking and eating. She taught me how to make Brussels sprouts, which my mom hated. She loved curry. I also loved curry. My mom couldn't stand it. Garlic? Yeah, my mom also not a fan. When I first learned this, I looked over at my mom and I said, "How are we related?" Without missing a beat, Carole jumped in and said, "Through me." And that just made sense. That was the amazing thing about the relationship that my mom and Carole had. My mom, and we all love her dearly, is not the most domesticated parent. If you need to plan a climate change rally, that's your girl. But Carole was the one that taught me how to fold a fitted sheet. Have you ever tried to do that? It's hard. It's not that hard. There's a technique. But I used to think rolling it up in a ball and throwing it in the corner of the closet counted. Who knew? But my mom and Carole really complemented each other like that. They made each other stronger. They brought out the best in each other. They fit together so well that we just called them the moms. I think Allie was the first to call them that. She and all of my college friends are here today, and I'd like to think they're here for me, but Carole touched their lives too. Over the years, we've spent countless hours at Flamingo Beach with the moms. The moms are their family too. And for me, Carole really reshaped the definition of family, and we've heard a couple of people mention that today. Family isn't just about biology or marriage. Family is chosen. And many of Carole's chosen families here today and has joined us virtually on Zoom. Family is what you make of it, and Carole was the glue between so many people. She brought Kath and Susan and Nancy and so many of others into our lives. And I hate to tell you, but even though she's gone, you're stuck with us. We're still family. The last few days with Carole were hard. They were really, really hard. And I know my mom and I are so grateful that family, both chosen and given, were there. Many of us have seen the last few days of someone that we hold near and dear, and it's hard. We see a version of those we love so much that we know isn't truly who they are. And this is the part where I cry. My mom kept saying that we need to find photos of Carole. So, to remind ourselves of that wonderful, vibrant woman we knew so, so well. We needed photos so that that image of her in her last few days and hours isn't the memory that we default to. And I'm so grateful for all of you who brought photos today, and I can't wait to go downstairs and see them hung on the clothespins that we've set up. To pour a shitty glass of Chardonnay and to share in all of the stories of where they were taken, so that we can laugh and cry and celebrate her life together. But I don't need a photo. This is the part that I cry. I've rehearsed this so many times. But I don't need a photo because I have Carole. I have her lodged in my memory. I see her in the lake with her head back, her eyes closed, and she's submerged in the water, and she is smiling up at the sun.
Thank you, Amanda. Beloved, we have honored together Carole Jean Tillis. We've heard some beautiful testimonies of her life, and we've heard some beautiful music. And shortly there will be a time for open sharing where you will have a chance, if you wish, to share any thoughts or memories of Carole that you have in your heart today. But first, now, I invite you to join me in a time of prayer. Spirit of life, we honor and celebrate the life of Carole, the lives she has touched, and the legacy of love and service and music that she leaves. We are born from mystery. We are born a miracle of the cosmos and stardust, and when we die, we are received back into the mystery. We are deeply grateful for the gift of Carole's life and her miraculous journey among us and beyond us, yet still with us in spirit. Please join me now in a time of silent reflection, a time of silent prayer or meditation, remembering Carole and celebrating the gift of life. Amen, and blessed be. Our next hymn is Comfort Me, and the words will be on the screens and also in the teal hymnal at number 1002. And I invite you to rise in body or spirit. Please be seated. Though we share in our feelings of separation and loss, we each knew Carole in a different way, perhaps in a different time in our life and in her life. At this time, if you wish, you may share a special memory of Carole or words in her honor. For those of you here in the sanctuary, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand, and we will come to you with a microphone and ask that you do use the microphone. Please hold it close enough so that we can hear you. If you're able and if you wish, you might stand. Please let us know your name before you share. And for those of you who are with us on Zoom, please raise the hand in the reactions area, and Mike will call on you in turn. And when it's time, you can unmute. Is there anyone who would like to share at this time?
Hi, everyone. I'm Annie, Carol and Carolyn's next door neighbor. About 10 years ago, through some lucky twist of fate, I bought a house across the street from Carol and Carolyn. C&C's Flamingo Beach. There was a huge peace sign on the side of the house and rainbow flags flying. And there were numerous lively parties with all these women singing and laughing and swimming in the lake. And I said to myself, who are these church ladies that are having such a great time over there? When I retire, I want to be just like them. As the three of us became good friends over the next few years, I got invited over to their porch to hang out with them and all these really smart and interesting women. And I thought, wow, I had no idea that lesbians are so cool. I definitely found a great place to complain about men and what was wrong with the world and how it's all their fault. Just kidding.
No, you're not.
Carol and Carolyn both had PhDs, and I was so impressed by this. One night, I said to Carol, Carolyn has a PhD in mathematics, and I know what that is. But you have a PhD in human sexuality. Does that mean you're an expert on sex? And she got this big, huge smile, and she said, yes, what do you want to know? Halloween was one of Carol's favorite holidays. It was so festive and so much fun. The night that Carol departed from Sandy Pond for the last time, there was a Sweet 16 Halloween party going on next door. And there were teenage girls screaming in spooky delight. And there was a full moon. Amanda and I were out in the driveway talking about what a fitting departure Carol was making. And as they brought her out, I said to Carol, I know you're loving this, and you planned this, didn't you? So every Halloween, and every time I'm on a porch with good friends, I'll be thinking about you, Carol, right there with me, laughing and smiling. Goodbye, my friend. I love you.
Hi, I'm Patty Sardella, and I'm part of the family of millions that we're related to Carol and Carolyn.
Patty, could you put your mic closer?
Yes, sorry. Is that okay? I didn't prepare anything, but first thing I want to say is that Carol and Carolyn were so perfectly compatible, and I love Carolyn as much as I loved Carol. And she better be around for a long time. But the most important thing that I remember about Carol is, and she used to say, I love it when we banter. And by that, she meant when we goof on each other, or when we share the fact that we both of our middle names are Jean, and when we wanted to scold each other, we would say, Carol Jean, now you know I'm not supposed to do that. And she'd go, Patty Jean, just shut up. So, and then the best thing was, I used to bring dinners over to Carol and Carolyn every now and then so they didn't have to cook, and I always brought my meatloaf, which everybody loved. And then one day, Carol said to me, looking like she was almost going to cry. She said, "Patty?" I said, "Yeah." "I hate your meatloaf." And I said, "Carol Jane." But since then, Carolyn has said it's the best meatloaf she's ever had, so I feel better. Carol, I love you so much. And I know you loved me. And thank you for loving everyone as much as you love me. And I will miss you.
Thank you.
When I met Carol and Carolyn, my daughter was 1 or 2, and I was a single mother. And Carol got it. I know not only that she was also a single mother and totally got it, but she loved kids so much. I mean, all kids. Nobody got it during those years the way Carol got it. And I remember when Josie was 4, or I think, and I was taking antibiotics for Lyme disease, and there was a party at their house, and I think I spent the whole party fast asleep on the porch. And I'm not sure who was with my kid, but I'm pretty sure it was Carol in the water with her the whole time. She never stopped asking after Josie, never stopped. Even lately, when she was tired, and I would go over and visit, she wouldn't have energy for much, but she wanted to know how Josie was. I don't really have words for the relationship between her and Josie. You know what it meant to Josie when I told her. I just have so much gratitude. Also, Josie I think she was 5 when they got married. And she was so proud. She was taking photographs. And she took this picture of Carol and Carolyn at the wedding party that captured everything except their heads. And she was so proud of that picture. And Carol had it up on that mantelpiece for years. She really loved kids. I just had to say that. I just want to thank her and thank Carolyn.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sabra. If I've said this 100 times, I've said it 1,000,000 times. Every time I walked into Carol and Carolyn's house, I felt like it was in the safest place in the world. There's so much love in that house, and I'm sure it's still there, because Carol's spirit will always be there. But here's one of the stories I'm going to tell about Carol. When my daughter Amanda was about 4, we were here, and Easter Sunday was happening, so she came from, preschool, whatever you call it. Thank you. I'll sing now. No. She came up from religious ed. We were walking out the door, and Amanda looked at me and said, "Mama, what does Jesus have to do with Easter?" And Carol was behind me and went, "High five!" And I love that. It's just the best. Gonna miss you, Carol. I love you, Carolyn. And I love everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Matthew, and Probably haven't known Carole as long as everyone else. And I am Ariella's father, and I just want to speak in behalf of myself and my daughter, but when we all packed in that car to go to Grammy and Graham's Flamingo Beach, it always, the emotions were always flowing, and we were always super there. And we always knew what was waiting there for us. And that was Carole and Carolyn at the door, whether it was 10 o'clock at night because we were getting out late, or, there was dinner there waiting for us, and, arms were always open, waiting for hugs and, embrace us. And one very specific, memory that I have, I think Carole got out of the hospital one of the times, and I think it's just a testament to how she made you feel, because Ariella walked in, and the first thing that she did was run to her Grammy's bedroom and just wrapped her arms around Carole and just stayed there for 30 minutes. And I think that overall is just what she made us all feel. It was just, when you had that chance to hug her, you knew it was going to be all right and things were going to be a little bit better. And I just want to say thank you to her and Carolyn, for making my daughter and myself feel so comfortable in your guys' presence. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, Susan Tordella. Carole and I had a lot in common. We did have a rocky start. The first time I talked to her was at the food booth at the fair, and we had a fight about something. Then she got mad at me about something I said about Carolyn, that maybe I liked her a little too much. And I didn't bring the U-Haul, but I just liked her. And I didn't know that wasn't the right thing to say in that company. And we both love Carolyn. We both love the pond. We both love this church a lot. And Carole made me agree that if we had a fight, I would stay till the end. Because she was an only child, and when you're an only child, your friends can go home. So one time I did stay for 3 days. I have stayed for 3 days, but I just want to acknowledge how she was a backbone of this church. I mean, it's mentioned she founded Artemis, and she did the solstice. I met her on lay worship. There was a huge commitment for that. She became a deacon, which was a 4-year commitment. She baked cookies, a lot. Who's had some of her cookies? For neighborhood supper, she showed up at neighborhood supper for her cookies. She baked them for an effort I was involved in. I just had to call her up and say, Carole, I'm going to the State House. And she was so supportive. She was supportive of Carolyn even in the last 6 months. She would say, Carolyn, go. I'll be fine. I'll be fine home alone. So she was very supportive. She was in the Vagina Monologues. That was a great experience. Yeah, we're going back some years. Economic justice. We had a big committee on economic justice. So she really put, and I'm sure there's some I'm missing, but she really put her, words are cheap, watch the feet, okay? I'm not surprised she had heart problems. She wore it out on all the love she gave. And she didn't finish her PhD because she realized she was too empathetic. It would have just probably killed her sooner. But she had her private practice. It was a big private practice. Raise your hand if you've also cried on her shoulder. It was a big shoulder to cry on. You could always count on that. I like that expression, safe haven. By the way, she's a learned extrovert. And I introduced her to box wine, which she would take in her suitcase to Turks and Caicos. And this church community introduced her to men, because she told me towards the end she was a separatist. And that meant she hung out with women only, and she avoided men. She avoided men to the point her own dog, her previous dog Sophie, knew that. And Sophie used to bite Bob in the ass when she came over. And I was so surprised after Carole and I got over our rocky start, Sophie started to approach me. She never used to approach me. But she was a giver, that's for sure. She did age gracefully. It was hard at the end, it was really hard, the last 6 to 12 months, and Carolyn really stood by her. And a lot of people in this room. Oh yeah, I know, the separatism. So she only learned to like men because she met men like Bob and Peter and Hugh and Joel in this church. So I just want to say how much she was in the present moment. That's why she was so much fun to joke with. And toward the end, one day in a blackout, she came over to our living room and we played Scrabble. We couldn't decide if we wanted to play or not. We finally reluctantly played, and we just started breaking every rule. You know, using the triple word 3 times, making up words, challenging words, and that's a memory I hold dear among many. Bless your heart, Carole.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm just going to say one thing about, I don't know how this started or who started it or why, but Carole and I used to, every time, you know, we first saw each other in any gathering. So, Carolyn, if you see me doing it, that's why.
Hi, my name is Monica Pillman. I'm currently honored to serve as the senior deacon of this church, but when I first came here in 2004, I was a Southerner out of place in the North, and Carole was one of the first friends I made at this church. She was a fellow Southerner. She understood things like sweet tea and oh, bless her heart, and things like that we both grown up with in the South. But something I knew about Carole right away was that, as we would say in my hometown in Louisiana, she had Tabasco in her veins. And what I mean by that is she had a very fiery personality. So not just her fiery hair, but she had a fiery heart. And it was big heart. And it took in a lot. So just her birth family was never enough for Carole. She kept bringing in more people with the warmth of her heart. And I was one of the wonderful recipients of all of that warmth and love. And Carole, you're a sweet lady. I remember you well. Thank you.
Hi. Many years ago, I have to admit I didn't really know too many women who were lesbians. And Carolyn and Rita Cherubini and I went to a women's choir concert, and many of the women there were lesbians. And afterwards, Carolyn says, like that. And I looked at her and I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Oh, that's just the lesbian mating song." And I went, "Really?" So anyway, Carolyn.
Yeah, my name's Joel, and I have to say that one of the greatest honors in my life was when Carole told me that I was her chosen brother. And I did not really understand where that was coming from, frankly. I love the woman, but I'll never forget how honored I feel that she chose me.
Hi, I'm Karen, and I haven't been here in a long time. I'm looking at my daughter, who started the tradition of the last day of school jumping off that pier into the water, fully clothed. And that was started by Carole. And I'm looking at my husband's other wife, because he tied a bracelet honor. I say the word Artemis, and the women here know what I mean. There's a deep soul in that word for me. There's a place in me that she touched that brought me through all of my fear and all of my pain. And she made me feel like I could be anybody I already was, because I was part of Artemis, and Artemis loved me, and Artemis accepted me even when I couldn't sing. And that touched my family, and it touched me in joy and arguments, and I loved when she butted heads with people. She had some opinions that were just hysterical, and she would defend them to the death, and I loved her for it. So that's my Carole, and I'm gonna miss her.
Thank you. Any others in the sanctuary?
I just want to say one thing. My name's Rich. Her hugs. I don't need to say.
Do we have people on Zoom?
Keith, if you would like to unmute and speak.
Yes, this is very difficult. Carole is a lovely person. I met her in a very strange way in the early 90s when she wasn't hanging out with a lot of men, and she became a mother to me, and she was always loving, giving with her time. She cared so much about everyone, and I will never, it's really hard. I just never forget how she is.
Thank you. Jim and Karen?
Yes, Carole and I worked together on the Deacons back in 2005 to 2008, and she was a wonderful, inspiring partner in the Deacons. And it was a very exciting time for the church because we rewrote the charter for the Deacons, and she contributed tremendously for that. We were involved with putting together the executive team concept, which lives on today. And we owe Carole a lot for her help in that. And as you look up at the front of the church and look beyond the pulpit, that sanctuary quilt was approved by the Deacons and Carole back then. So she leaves a lot behind. And I know her spirit lives on in the church. And we will always miss her and always love her, but we can find her right there within our own church.
There are no more hands, but I'd like to speak too. So just, we talked about Carole being inclusive and about her nervousness about men before she came here. So my wife needed help getting to Artemis for a while because she ended up having knee surgery so she could walk. But I had to help her in there, and I would drop her off, and I would go out. And Carole said, "Why are you going?" I said, "Well, I mean, this is not really. This is sort of a women's thing, and everything." She says, "Well, do you like girls?" I went, "Well, yeah, I like girls." She says, "So do I. You're an honorary lesbian. Sit down."
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for your vulnerability and sharing those stories about Carole, so dear to us all. And I know that we will continue to share our stories as time goes on, and if you're able to come downstairs and join us after the service.
Love of my life, I am crying. I am not dying. I am dancing, dancing along in the madness. There is no sadness, only a song of the soul. Won't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. What do you do for a living? Are you forgiving, giving shelter? Follow your heart, love will find you, love will unbind you. Seek out a song of the soul and we'll sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Come to your life like a warrior. Nothing will bore you. You can be happy. Let in the light, it will heal you. And you can feel you. You sing the song of the soul and we'll sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Love of my life, I am crying. I am not dying. I am dancing, dancing along in the madness. There is no sadness, only a song of the soul, and we'll sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. And we can sing for a long, long time.
Thank you, Emma. We have a two-part benediction, first spoken, then sung. I invite you to remain seated for our benediction. Beloved, may we be gentle with ourselves and each other today and in the days to come. May we commit Carole Jean Tillis to the preciousness of memory, where she will remain with us all of our days. May we be inspired to live well and love well, as Carole did. May we sing a song of the soul for a long, long time, as she did. Please hear these words of Rabindranath Tagore. This song of mine will wind its music around you like the fond arms of love. This song of mine will touch your forehead like a kiss of blessing. When you are alone, it will sit by your side and whisper in your ear. My song will be like a pair of wings to your dreams. It will be like a faithful star overhead when dark night is over your road. And when my voice is silent in death, my song will speak in your living heart. Blessed be, and amen. Please join us downstairs to greet the family and each other and have refreshments.
I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. There is a hurting in my family, and there is sorrow in my town. There is a panic all across the nation, and there is wailing, and the whole world so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of
When you're down and troubled and you need some love and care, and nothing, oh, nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You got a friend.
If the sky high above you should grow dark and full of cloud, and that old north wind should begin to blow, keep your head together and call my name out loud. Now baby, yeah, 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 soon I'll be knocking upon your door. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, hey now all you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, ain't it good to know that you got a friend when people can be so cold? They'll hurt you, yes, and desert you, and take your soul if you let them. Oh, but don't you let them. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running, running, yeah, 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 to see you again. Ooh, ooh, now.
Winter, spring, summer, or fall, hey now all you've got to do is call, and I'll be there,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You got a friend.
You've got yourself a friend now.
Hey now, baby, you got a friend.
Now ain't it fine to know that you've got a friend?
Oh, now, baby, you've got a friend. Yeah, yeah. Ain't it good to know? Ain't it good to know? Ain't it good to know? You've got a friend.
Thank you to everyone on Zoom that was able to attend today, and as well on YouTube. So have a great day, and I hope to see some of you back for the concert later today. Thank you. Bye. Baby, I can't hear you, and I'm trying to do something. Can I do something? All right, I would like to do something. All right, I'm sorry. What did you want to ask me about YouTube? But yeah, it looks like a Sunday service right now. It looks like a Sunday service on YouTube. All right. Well, do check up here for bathrooms. If you're going into the bathroom, you need a bathroom, check for bathrooms. I'm not going to guard it. What do you want to do? Sure, just set it up here. Yeah, just throw it all up here. Do you need me to stop and do this?